Good day and welcome to my TED Talk. So today we're going to be talking about Industry 4.0. So that means the fourth industrial revolution, if you needed clarity. So essentially today we're going to be talking about thriving in a digital age. And some of the topics that we're going to cover include we should aim to excel in the digital age, number one. Number two, we want to understand what is the Industrial Revolution. So we're going to define that and look into a bit of the history. And then we're going to look into how do we see this in South Africa? How does this look in the South African context? And then after that, we're going to see, are we behind other countries in terms of progress, in terms of fully integrating into Industry 4.0, into becoming completely digital? Number five, we're also going to be looking at how does this impact South Africa in the near future, fully going digital in terms of jobs, in terms of the risk factor that comes with it. So to begin off, to go with the main idea, it's we should aim to excel in the digital age. So that means that's because the world in general has been moving towards a completely digitized environment. That means your AR, that means your VR, that means your systems that are online, that are integrated into the net. That means your social media, everything. So everything is going on to the Internet of Things. So now we should be able to understand, or this is where we come to understand, what is the fourth industrial revolution. So to give you some history into that, the actual first one, the first industrial revolution came about in the 18th and 19th century, and that's where we moved from agricultural cultures to more industrialized. That's where you started to see your first factories. That's where the first industrial revolution came about. And the second one, that's where we saw the advent of electricity and how it was harnessed, and then then that's the development of industries and mass manufacturing came from there. So that's when you started seeing your major products being produced in major amounts all at once in like your bigger factories and things like that. Now, the third industrial revolution comes about in the 20th century. So that's where you begin to see the invention of your computer chips, your computers, and everything, the basics of the computers that we have today. That's considered to be the third industrial revolution around your 1940s or 50s, around there. Now, now we're in the present day, and this is the fourth industrial revolution. This is where we come to understand it. So this is where you see disruptive technologies like the Internet of Things, as I have mentioned before, your ARs, your VRs, your AIs, and you've seen it in media or in entertainment, how it's used to change the shape or de-age actors and make them look younger. And the softwares like that that are part of the fourth industrial revolution now. And so now comes the question, how does this look in the context of South Africa? What is our abilities? What is our infrastructure looking like? Well, despite ambitions, at this point, it's very limited in terms of the domestic market. So that means that the amount of businesses that are fully integrated that are naturally South African are not too many. And so they can't really push out into Africa as well and create value from there and digitize from there, because the rest of the countries in Africa don't necessarily have the same infrastructure as us. And so now what also adds on to that is the dif the inefficient educational system whereby people don't have skills in being online. So you may know how to read a book, you may know how to read and write, but you may not know how to do things online. You may not know how to do CAD, or you may not know how to use certain systems online. So that leaves you far behind the rest of the world, and that's why we're kind of lacking. Also, we may know what you want sometimes. So we have a poor policy formulation and implementation. So we may understand that, okay, we need to be part of the fourth industrial revolution, but we don't know how exactly to get there or what policies to put in place or how to implement them, because corruption may come about. And so that may be across departments. Some departments may not agree on which things to formulate, and it just becomes a whole mess. And now it's not all doom and gloom. So as I've stated before, you have your private sector players like Mr. D and Takealot.com and Superbalist, who are big players in the industry, and they're completely digitized, and they're moving the country in a different lane, and they're flying the flag high. So there's some positives here and there. So now raises the question of, are we behind other countries in terms of like developed countries and stuff like that? So here's a stat that I will push to you. About 9 million individuals, or 15% of the South African population, kind of has no no internet connection. So if they're at home, they're not going to be able to access the internet. Sometimes if they're at school, they might be able to. But then if you look at a place like the UK, it turns out that only between 1.5 and 1.7 million people actually don't have internet access at home. So that means we still have millions of people in South Africa alone that can't really access the internet. And that means they don't know how to use them. Excuse me, they don't know how to use the internet. They don't know how to provide value on it, and they don't know how to maneuver in a very digital space. So that puts us on the back foot as a country because it's like, how do we call ourselves as part of the fourth industrial revolution? Yet a lot of us are not even involved on the internet. Now we come to question, how does this impact the future of South Africa? So there is a professor, Professor Chilidzi. uh, he said, actually, he predicted that because of AI, something interesting might happen in the job market. So some jobs might be rendered obsolete. Um, you may have seen at McDonald's, some places have screens where you can order instead of interacting with a person. Right now, you have the benefit of both worlds, but as time goes, those things are going to start become more automated and you do your own thing. You don't really have to talk to a person, so that person loses their job. And then on the other hand, the professor also says that because of other technologies being implemented, that means that more jobs will come about. So, for example, there were no data analysts in the 1960s, but now we have data analysts, and that's as a result of new technologies that have come about. And so this is where we come to more than just surviving. So the reason I say we need to do more than just surviving is due to the fact that we're far behind the rest of the world. And so we need to understand that we need to learn digital skills, not so that we can just be on par, but so that we can also change the narrative and create our own. And so we need to understand like how those skills will help us. So for example, learning digital skills will actually allow you as a South African, for example, to get possibilities outside of the country. So you don't have to stay here. You might find a job in the US, you might find school in the US or something like that, and then bring that knowledge back to South Africa and then provide value here. Additionally, on top of that, employers aren't really looking for someone who doesn't know how to use digital systems. So your words, your AIs, your Office 365s, they want people who know how to use those because that is how they communicate and that is how they conduct business on there. It makes things easier and it makes things quicker and it lowers the cost for everybody. So meaning people don't experience as much loss or employees don't experience as much loss. And so that is it for my TikTok today. Thank you for listening to me. It has been very fun. Enjoy.